MALCOM, the 1986 Australian movie that holds a special place in my heart, mainly because it was filmed in my hometown of Melbourne, Australia. Starring Colin, Friels, John Hargreaves and Lindy Davies, MALCOM is the story of, to quote its own description, a socially awkward but mechanical genius becomes involved in a quirky and unconventional crime. The story begins with MALCOM, who is obsessed with trams and works at a tram yard, getting fired for building his own life-size hobby tram using company materials. His need for money results in the local milk shop owner, who seems to be a bit of a guardian type figure in his life, advising him to rent out a room. This results in him taking on Frank, an ex-con, as a lodger, followed soon after by Frank's girlfriend Judith. MALCOM's natural curiosity about how Frank would go about committing robberies and his need to repay Frank for giving him a stolen TV, mainly to keep his mouth shut, results in MALCOM first building him a getaway car, followed by plans on how to rob banks without actually being there. This all results in hilarity and fun as we watch these characters bond in friendship through crime. Let's take a look at some fun facts about this film, which you may not have known. And if you did, well, watch anyway. Number 10, created by a husband and wife duo. MALCOM was written by cinematographer and screenwriter David Parker and directed by Nadia Tass, who happened to be husband and wife. This was actually Tass's feature film directorial debut. So yes, this heist caper was written and filmed by a couple who also acted as the film's producers. As for the inventions seen throughout the film, including the mailbox on train tracks to the front window, the mini remote controlled milk truck, and the flying bird cage, were all thought up by Parker. The duo were also responsible for other similar movies such as The Big Steal, which I also recommend, and Mr. Reliable, which I found a bit boring to be honest. Number 9, the movie is a cult classic. With a budget of $1 million, it earned $544,000 at the US box office alone. This may not seem like a lot, but it was going head to head with Crocodile Dundee that same year. And I guess 2 Australian movies was one movie too much for US audiences. The film also has become a cult classic over the years in Australia and won 21 international awards, despite IMDb saying only 9, including the Australian Film Institute Award for Best Film, the Golden Sprocket Award at the London Film Festival, and was also the official entrant at Venice, Houston, Toronto, Moscow, and Japan. The film made around $3,483,000 at the box office in Australia. Number 8, the case of the obvious stuntman. MALCOM designs and builds a getaway car that splits in half and allows both halves to be driven independently. When MALCOM and Frank are shown trying to outrun the police through the streets of Melbourne, you can see the stuntman playing the part of Frank looks absolutely nothing like him. I mean, he has a white KFC Colonel mustache for Pete's sake. You would think the producers would have instructed the stuntman to shave his facial hair for the scene, even if it meant paying a little bit more money. Number 7, MALCOM is on the autism spectrum. It's never quite mentioned in the film, but I did assume for a long time that MALCOM was on the autism spectrum. Specifically, it would probably be the Asperger's syndrome, a type of high-functioning autism, or savant syndrome, which would explain why he's so gifted with anything mechanical or electrical. Some of the signs of autism that MALCOM displays are problems with social interaction. He even crosses the road several times to avoid going near others, including a dog. Lack of eye contact, restrictive interests. In MALCOM's case, it's mainly to do with trams. Difficulty maintaining focus and paying attention, such as when he's being denied milk on loan or when he's getting fired. The film, on the other hand, seems to indicate that MALCOM is simply awkward and shy and is the way he is due to his mother shielding him from the outside world.
His mother was a lovely woman, God love her. But she really messed that boy up.
Supporting this is the fact that MALCOM seems to open up to people excitedly, almost to the point of being cocky once he gets to know them. Whatever the case may be, it's definitely nice to see this character develop friendships and gain confidence along the story. Number 6, based on John Tassopoulos. In the closing credits, there is a dedication to John Tassopoulos. This was the brother of director Nadia Tass, or Tassopoulos, who the film is loosely based on. John was equally obsessed with trams. Tass describes him as vulnerable, innocent, and incredibly intelligent. John had Asperger's syndrome, which further supports our previous thoughts on MALCOM's condition. Unfortunately, in 1983, John died from an epileptic seizure after being hit by a car, tragically in his 20s. Number 5, making the film. As Parker had never written a script before, and Tass had never directed a feature film before, securing funding for the film proved harder than expected. Australian broadcast Channel 7 ended up providing $175,000 for pre-sale, and Film Victoria provided $100,000. Parker and Tass mortgaging their home came up with the rest of the money for the movie. Number 4. Filming locations. The tram depot scene at the beginning of the film was the old South Melbourne tram depot on Kingsway, Melbourne, which has now been replaced by a BMW dealership. And the office interiors were filmed at Preston Workshops, which is where Malcolm's tram was actually made by workers. Kew Tram Depot still exists on High Street to this day. The exterior of Malcolm's house was filmed at 23 Napoleon Street in Collingwood, a Melbourne suburb, with a false facade made on the same street for the milk bar. Yeah, the milk bar as seen from the street was a fake, with the interiors filmed at an actual milk bar on nearby Peel Street. The interiors shot of Malcolm's house were filmed at John Street in Flemington. Today, Napoleon Street, or at least one half of it, is full of apartment blocks, and unfortunately, Malcolm's house is gone. The Leinster Arms Hotel in Gold Street, Collingwood, was used for the pub scenes. The Anglo-Swiss Bank, which is a made-up name in case you didn't know, was filmed at Commonwealth Bank on Collins Street, Melbourne, and William Angliss TAFE on La Trobe Street, Melbourne. Paul Hagel has a good video of him walking around the locations that might be of interest. By the way, that ending scene of the trio in Portugal, well, only John Hargreaves filmed shots in Portugal. The rest of the scene was shot in a cafe in Melbourne. Number 4. Cameos. The film has a number of blink and you'll miss them cameos at various moments. These include Charles "Bud" Tingwell, a famous Australian actor from such movies as The Castle and Ned Kelly, as a tramyard supervisor that ends up firing Malcolm. Heather Mitchell, who some of you may remember as Ashka from the TV series Spellbinder, as the pub keeper. Chris Hayward of Chopper fame as small-time Crim Willie. Yeah, so I kind of stuffed up here. I thought Chris Hayward, who's in Malcolm, and David Field, who's actually in Chopper, I thought they were the same person. They're obviously not. They do look kind of similar, but I had it wrong for several years. Yeah. Others include Ian McFadden, who you may remember from The Comedy Company, Lou Richards, the football commentator as himself on the radio, and real-life Channel 10 newsreader David Johnston. Number 3. Vehicles. The model tram that Malcolm built, air quotes, was actually built by Ian McClay. It ran on a motorbike engine and had a power input pole made from wood. After the film was completed, the tram was donated to the Tramway Museum Society of Victoria. The splitting car scenes were filmed with 3 different Honda Zs. The stunt car that would split in half was Frankenstein with 2 motorbikes. On a side note, these were bought from Albert Park Golf Club. The second car was used for the actors while it was being towed. Was donated by a grip named Ray Brown. The third car was a drivable, unmodified car and now sits in the Cascade Films foyer in South Melbourne. The split car rests in Canberra in the National Film and Sound Archive. Fun fact, the split cars were built by Tony Mahood, who also appears in the movie as a tram conductor. The remote-controlled car used for the first robbery attempt is a Tamiya Sand Scorcher model 58016. Number 2. Where are they now? The 3 partners in crime and awkward friends were played by talented actors, and their lives have gone in separate directions since 1986 when the film was released. Colin Friels, who played Malcolm, won an AFI award for Best Actor. He has gone on to make many more films and TV shows, for example, Darkman, Dark City, and Water Rats. He made a recovery from pancreatic cancer in 1997. He's married to actress Judy Davies and they have 2 children. Lindy Davies, who played Judith, won an AFI award for Best Supporting Actress in the film. She went on to mainly act in TV shows such as the popular Flying Doctors and A Country Practice. She went on to become head of drama at the Victorian College of Arts until 2007, has conducted master classes in acting at the Canadian Film Centre from 2010 to 2016. John Hargreaves, who played Frank, continued acting until 1996 when he unfortunately died of AIDS-related complications after contracting HIV sometime in 1994. He died in a hospice in Sydney. At his funeral, his pallbearers included Sam Neill and Brian Brown. Number 1. Following on from the success of Malcolm, many Hollywood agents forwarded scripts to David Parker and Nadia Tass. According to Parker, when clearing out a production office one day, he came across several of these rejected scripts. On one of these, Tass had written, "We've already done this." past. The script was titled Forrest Gump. Thinking about it now, Malcolm shares several similarities with Forrest Gump. They both are mentally challenged, though are both gifted in other ways. Forrest being a great runner, whilst Malcolm is mechanically gifted. They both rise to the challenge and accomplish things, despite the odds being against them and society putting them down. They both befriend people that at first think they're idiots, and they both become rich through the course of the movie. Forrest via his shrink company and investments, and Malcolm via bank robbing. Now, why, you may ask, did I make a video about Malcolm? I mean, it's not the best known Australian movie, with most Americans thinking of movies like Crocodile Dundee when it comes to Australian film, and even Australians probably thinking of 20 other movies first before getting to Malcolm, such as The Castle, Rabbit Proof Fence, Priscilla, etc. Well, that's pretty much exactly why. I don't think this movie gets enough recognition nowadays. I didn't make this video expecting to get a lot of likes or even views, but I made it for the few of us that think this is a fun, entertaining couple of hours. It has a story that's both simple, yet involves different subplots of the key characters. The industrial tone and grey colours, they're a telltale sign of Victorian film of that era. Rather than depress, give me a cozy, nostalgic feeling I get from seeing films like Spotswood, The Big Steal, The Heartbreak Kid, starring Alex Dimitriadis, not Ben Stiller. I enjoyed this film when I was a kid, and I enjoy it to this day. It's a feel-good movie that's sure to put a smile on your face. To those of you who haven't seen Malcolm and made it this far into the video, I highly recommend it. At the time of filming this episode, it's available on YouTube to watch for like $3.99. You can't even buy half a Big Mac for that these days. And if you don't like it, well, sue me. Even in 2024, it holds up well apart from that TV. If you do end up watching it or have already seen it, tell me what you thought of it in the comment section below. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Until then, please give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, even a little bit. Subscribe to help the channel grow, and share it with your friends that may enjoy it too. Till next time, see you later.